welcome to our first episode of our first season of Think Bout It, Talk Bout It, our Jesuit Identity Month theme for 2024, the month of November. I am your host, Adelaide Sabido, and on set today we have Father Jeremy Zippel, Chief Mission and Identity Officer at St. John's College, Leah Clay, the university's Student Ambassador, and Jason Kelvin, our Junior College Campus Minister. Welcome.
Thanks.
All of you, and thank you for being here.
Great to be here, Adelaide.
So it's Jesuit Identity Month here at SJC, and we're starting off this season to talk a little bit about Jesuit education, what it is, what makes us different, and who we are at SJC particularly. So Father Jeremy, thank you for taking up the mantle this month and opening up the season with us to talk about Jesuit identity and Jesuit education here at SJC and overall what it means.
Sure, happy to.
All right, so tell us a little bit about what is Jesuit education and how do we fit
Plug into
that?
it. Yeah, well, I mean, at one level, the Jesuits are a religious order in the Catholic Church. So that's a group of priests, basically priests and brothers, that are about 500 years old, founded by a saint called St. Ignatius Loyola. He was from Spain, born in 1491, and the Jesuits were founded in 1540. So it's a really old tradition. When he had a big time religious conversion in his life. He had been a soldier and sort of a guy who was interested mostly in fame and glory and women, and then he had a conversion to live his life for God. So he wasn't originally thinking about starting schools or getting into education. He just wanted to do something great for God, and he had some roommates at the University of Paris who got behind him, and they all, he sort of started saying, all right, let's go. Ultimately, they said, let's go to Rome and try and become a religious order and do what the church needs us to do. So they did that, but very quickly they started going out, all over the place, around the world. This is at the time of the Age of Discovery. Remember, Ignatius was born 1 year before Christopher Columbus sailed over here, so it's a time when everybody is going everywhere, and the church is interested in going places too. So they very quickly started going out all over the world and discovering that education was a big need. There were no public schools, there was no system of education in Europe at the time. So people were asking, the Jesuits were educated priests, and they were asking people they were asking the Jesuits to educate their kids. So basically, from then on, Jesuits have been doing education. Got to Belize in 1851, and by 20, 30 years later, SJC was founded. So it's a really long, old, venerable tradition of education. There are, I want to say, about 200, close to 200 Jesuit universities and colleges throughout the world on every continent except for Antarctica. Jason and I are going to go down there and get a school going in Antarctica. That's our goal. But on every continent, we have a number of Jesuit schools right here in Latin America and Central America. There are 27 Jesuit universities in the United States. So we're part of that global family and that long tradition here at SJC.
Right, right. Well, you said something in the Jesuits came to Belize in 18...
What year was it, Leah?
1851.
She's right. Good job.
So we were founded, St. John's was founded in 1887. Truly remarkable history. I believe you and I were talking about that last week. What do you see, though, in Jesuit education? Clearly it's centuries old, but how do you see it adapting to the needs and challenges of today's students?
Mm-hmm.
When it first started, there was Jason and I were talking about it before the segment opened. Especially in Belize, we have still today a very historical context of the Catholic faith that may not be the liberal approach that the Jesuits have. You guys have done a lot. The order has done a lot. So how do you see the ideals and our values being influenced?
Well, I think the Jesuits from the very early days were really innovative. They were creating a whole new model of education, and they were very creative in it. Like, I always like to tell people, the printing press was invented in 1450, Gutenberg's movable type printing press. 150 years later, the year 1600, who was the #1 owner of printing presses in the world? The Jesuits. And we had sent printing presses all over. Why? Because they were printing textbooks and classics. Like, this was the era of the Renaissance, and people had rediscovered ancient Greek philosophy and literature and painting. So the Jesuits were really innovative. They were taking all the technology and the trends in their day and putting it into education like it hadn't been done before. And I think that's our challenge now. You know, we can't be afraid of new things, whether it be TikTok, social media, or you know, technology, new ways of thinking about the world. The Jesuits have always incorporated all that from our very beginning, so we try and do that now, you know. I think very influentially, Vatican II and social justice and this concern for the poor that the Jesuits started from the past maybe 50, 60 years has been very much a part of SJC's tradition. It's not just about educating for ourselves, but educating for others and for the world. That's been a big trend in worldwide Jesuit education, and sure here at SJC too. Right up there it says men and women for and with others.
Yeah.
Right. That's our motto.
That being the motto, social justice, you know, that's something that we keep hearing on international news every single day. In what ways, while, you know, some of our core values over the years have been men and women for others, in what ways does Jesuit education kind of teach or encourage students to really become advocates for social justice and social justice on a whole in their communities?
Yeah, well, I think we have a component in a lot of our classes that really pushes that, you know. We have service, as in every student who graduates from the sixth form anyway, and the university has to have service. So we really push students to think about that. I think another key area is the Jesuits. Our schools are a global network and always have been from the very beginning. And like I said, we're part of a global network of 200 schools. Some of them are in very, very poor places even. Belize is not like a super developed country, but we're still wealthier than some of our schools in Africa. So to kind of be part of that global network where we're really figuring out and encouraging our students to be global citizens, to think not just about us here, but the greater world. I think that's important, and not to get myself into trouble with any American politics here, but you know, we've got this slogan, you know, America first, or you know, but for Jesuits it would be, you know, human beings first, the world first. You know, we're all brothers and sisters, we're all sons and daughters of God, and we have to be worried about one another regardless of what our passport says or our ID card. So we really, I think we push our students to think about that too. You know.
I know we recently, you know, updated and I guess revamped our mission of the college and our overall core values. Could you share a little bit about our core values as to what they are and the meaning behind it as it relates to not just SJC community, but the Society of Jesus and a whole?
Okay, yeah, sure. Well, we have 4 new core values here at SJC this year that are all taken from Jesuit and Ignatian spirituality, from that tradition. So, for example, our first one is love in action. And it's a reminder to our students that everything we do here in the classroom is really about love. You know, it's about God's love for us and our love for one another. Even if you're in a science classroom or you're studying English, it's like how to be better citizens and better brothers and sisters in the world. So to keep that always in focus. Let's see, transformative education is another one. We want our students to be transformed. The Jesuits have a term called cura personalis. It's a Latin term, and it basically just means care of the whole person. So intellectual development is really important. We want our students to be the strongest scientists, the strongest business people, the strongest teachers, the strongest campus ministers they can be when they graduate here. Intellectually very strong, but we realize that human beings aren't just about the intellect, we're about the emotions, we're about the heart, we're about moral character. So we want an education that transforms you completely, every aspect of you, not just your brain, but everything else. That's what we mean by cura personalis, care of the whole person. Let's see, the next one is
Social reconciliation.
Social reconciliation, and that ties in with our theme we were talking about earlier of social justice. Belize has struggles. Every nation has struggles. You know, we have our particular struggles here. Poverty, you know, you name it, incarceration. And so we say the environment, that's a big one here in Belize, how we're caring for our common home. So we're saying we want to educate our students to be worried about these bigger problems and be solution finders and leaders for these bigger problems. And the last one is
My favorite, finding God in all
finding
things.
God in all things, of course. Thank you. Finding God in all things. Well, St. Ignatius famously says at the end of his spiritual exercises, that's a 30-day retreat that he came up with, he says that we can find God in every bit of creation. We can find God in the distant stars and planets. We can find God, you know, in the cells of our bodies. We can find God in plants. We can find God in a beautiful sunset. We can certainly find God in one another. So God is active in all of these places, and we're training our students to see that. You know, God is not, going to church is very important. Finding God in the scripture is very important, but all of creation is the scripture, if you will. It's a testimony of God's love. And so, yeah, to train our scientists to find God when they're, I don't know what they're doing because I'm not a scientist, but doing things with their test tubes, and, you know, to find our English students to find God in poetry, and our business students to even when they're learning how to do accounting and business deals, that they will still find God's presence in there and do it morally. So, yeah.
Alright. And so let's take it a little bit to hear the student side of what's going on when it comes to us building on our Jesuit identity and experiencing Jesuit education at SJC. Leah, you want to introduce yourself?
Okay, hi guys. I'm the student ambassador for the university. My name is Leah Clay, and I'm a psych major first year, but I also graduated from the junior college. I've been in campus ministry from 2021 when I started SJC, so I've been around for a while, and I do know a lot about SJC.
All right, splendid. But what made you choose St. John's College, and how has the Jesuit aspect of the school impacted your experience here?
I say I choose SJC because unlike other schools, SJC educates us holistically, like what Father Jeremy mentioned. So it's not just about academics, but it's also, you know, hands-on learning. It's about learning how to take care of the environment, how to find God in all things, how to take care of yourself, you know, not just always constantly be stressing about school, but they try to do different activities and stuff to keep us focused and keep us engaged, while also connecting it to our education and connecting it to Christ.
So it's Jesuit Identity Month. I know towards the end of this month, campus ministers, students on a whole, I think the entire college, the high school, the junior college, and the university is going to be out in the community doing various service projects for St. John Birchman Day. Has there been any experience, any particular experience in your time here at SJC that has really impacted your life, or that, or where you felt the impact of Ignatian values alive and thriving within you, and, you know, being a part of the foundation of who you will continue to grow as?
I had several experiences with that. One of them would be our encounter that we have, the campus ministry, we have the encounter retreat, and this has definitely helped a lot of students, because you have students that are still trying to find themselves, you know, young people, and sometimes they get lost. So we have this retreat that we do, that we go on, and it helps you to find yourself, you know, and how to connect God and what you do, and, you know, how to figure out what's going on in your life and how you can change the way you go about living. you know how you do your academics and everything, because sometimes people are broken, so they try to help you to fix that. And that's one thing I really love about SJC, you know, they try to help us, you know, they build us up to be good Jesuit individuals in society.
Okay. And you bring back a lot of memories. I think I went and encounter when I was a student too. I went out on service projects. There's, I think, one service project that every single thing or every job that I've been in and I've had to do public relations, this one project has always been so memorable, and I think has impacted a lot of the projects that I've done in all my employments and in my personal life. There was I was a business student here at St. John's College, the junior college, and we gathered household supplies and food and toiletries, cleaning supplies, and we made about 30 bins. There were two projects, sorry, not one. We made about 30 bins, and we visited Santa Marta Village. At that time, Mrs. Peralta was the dean, or president was the dean, and we visited Santa Marta Village to business teachers along with a couple of students and student leaders, and we hand delivered these bins of supplies to 30 different families, of which a couple of them were shut-in elderly folks that, you know, did not have the support that they needed or somebody to really take care of them. And it wasn't a project where we just went and hand delivered and say, okay, here you go, you know, nice meeting you. But a part of the Jesuit values that stayed with me in that experience is visiting these families, but at every single family we went to, we also prayed with them. And that made all the difference in that service project, because, you know, whether they were Catholic or not, they embraced the prayers. They felt that, you know, you could have felt that connection, that you were able to be one-on-one with them, and that it was really meaningful for them, that they are remembered. And I think that was the beginning of my call to, you know, be of service to others. That's when that whole notion of being Jesuit educated and making a difference kind of came to light, and say, okay, you know, everybody may be walking whatever struggle they're walking in life, but lending a hand to your neighbor or to somebody that you don't know, you know, is can make a world of a difference to an individual. And I think that is one of the pivotal parts of Jesuit priests, you know, the work that they do every day, going out and touching the lives of others. That's the part that I would say, you know, you go for it, you have your specialties in your educational disciplines, but you go out there and you set the world on fire in everything that you do, you know, in being really accepting that call of serving and being men and women for others. So it's a beautiful experience. I'm glad you have experienced it here at SJC and will continue to do so. But you called out an encounter retreat. I have beautiful memories of that as well, but we're going to talk to the man behind the encounter retreat right now, our campus minister for the junior college, Jason. You want to tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So it's not a job. It's my duty as a human being. It's my duty as a Jesuit educator and someone who was Jesuit educated. My job is to meet students where they are in their journey, and that can be in their spiritual journey, in their academic journey, and to basically help them grow. And this can be either through retreats, it can be through small one-on-one session with the students, it can be through immersion trips, it can be me doing a session in a theology class for one of the theology teachers, and I basically kind of teach about what the core values are and to kind of share about our identity as Jesuits, right? And what is our mission and what is it that we're trying to get to. You know, when I was here as a student, I remember the impact that the campus ministry had on me in high school and at the junior college, and it was a beautiful moment. And so it's something that I want to continue to bring on and to give to other students as much as possible. Right.
he brings the experiences, I think, of what I have, both being a student and being on the faculty side of it.
Right.
Believe me, there are a lot of similarities, but
Right.
you see it at two different scopes, right?
Yeah.
Two different
Two different.
scopes being a student. As a campus minister, I must ask, what do you think are some of the challenges, spiritually, I guess, spiritually and personally,
Right.
the challenges that students may have? You're dealing with a very young population. They have a lot of questions. They, in their own way, have a lot to discern.
Right.
What are some of the spiritual and personal challenges that students today are facing?
Right. So, well, there's a lot, and I hear a lot every single day because there's students coming in and out and saying, "Sir, can we talk about this?" And so, one of the main ones that we usually have coming up is more of like the social world, right? They're here at the junior college where there's a lot of freedom, and there's a lot of times that they don't know what to do with that freedom. And so they get here and they struggle with seeing how they can balance their personal life and balance their education at the same time. And so that's just one pressing issue. A lot of them want to just be out there. You hear them going to parties and doing different stuff. And so they do come back into the office and they're like, "Sir, I made some bad choices. How do we fix this?" And that's something that happens very commonly. And there's a lot of students who come in to the junior college who don't necessarily see God as someone to fall back on. And since we introduced that to them here at the junior college, a lot of them are saying, "You know what? Using God as a pillar of hope is something that I want to do. Can you show me how to do that?" Right? And I'm no older than any of them. I mean, I am older, but I'm not that much older than any of them. So I can relate to them a bit about how to keep that balance of social and education, and how to see where you can use God as a youth, right? And where your spirituality can come into play. I mean, we talk about cura personalis, and this is one of the main things that I preach in the office. Because a lot of them, when they come in, no bash to the science students, but a lot of them, when they come in, they focus on education. And so they tend to forget the part of mental health and care. And so that's one of the biggest problems that they face. And so I try to teach them what cura personalis is, that it's not just your intellectual, it's about your spiritual and your emotional and your physical being. And so it's more of a balance, trying to help them to balance that out, that I mostly see every day.
Yeah,
Can I just jump in on there
sure.
too and add one thing too? It's really beautiful to me to see too, it's like on the encounter retreats, for example. The encounter retreats are set up so that there are usually 10 or 11 student leaders who are leading their peers, you know. Might have 60 people on the retreat, 10 leaders, and then 45 or 50 students. And something that happens, like for example, the last retreat, one of the students remarked at the end of the retreat who was participating, he said, "You know, I never really was able to find a relationship with God or see how God was working in my life. But because of the example of you talking to the 10 leaders, the 11 leaders, because of the example you guys gave, I'm starting to see that I can do this too. I'm seeing how it fits." So the peer-to-peer thing is important too. I mean, Jason is great at facilitating that, but it's awesome to see the way our students support one another in their own journeys, and kind of, lift up the faith in one another.
And I think that's the most important part of the office, because they all come into this space and it's just like a different group of people in there, and so they all like come to be integrated with each other, and you're like, "Oh, you know what? This person is actually someone that could be useful to my journey." And they start connecting with each other, and encounter is just one of the things that we do that kind of creates that bond from there, and then it just spreads throughout. So it's kind of like a virus of love.
I love that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, I guess you guys went ahead and answered that. I was just going to ask, there's the spiritual and the personal challenges, but how does the Jesuit values, our core values, just what we stand for as a Jesuit education kind of help us mold through that? But you kind of answered that very quickly. But it is like you said, I think the culture on a whole in being a support to others, I think understanding the different things that they go through at
Right.
that age range. And I think you being a young campus minister is very helpful. I was a campus minister a couple of years ago, and I think you're able to connect more with them. Their students are, young people will share what they're going through and what they think with another young person, right? So I totally support you saying that you're not old, you're young, keep it young, right? But there is one thing that we are known to have here in Belize, is that we're very multicultural. We have different faiths, different beliefs. I think for the most part, majority of our student population are Catholic or do come from a religious background. But at the same time, for those that not necessarily are struggling but are not or do not share the same faith with us, how has our Jesuit values and our teachings and our campus ministry office, appeal or include those students?
It's a very big question. But in all honesty, I think when myself and Father Jeremy, we speak about what we do at campus ministry, the first things that we mention is that we don't force anything on you. Right? It's always your choice. And it's always that we meet you where you are in your journey. Again, going back to that, it's not necessarily that we're trying to say, God, Christianity, God, Catholic, right? It's more of, where are you? I'll meet you there. Let's walk, right? And so it goes back to us saying that you don't have to be a Catholic or a Jesuit to love in action, right? You don't have to be a Catholic or a Jesuit to follow cura personalis of focusing on your intellectual or your emotional or your physical well-being, right? You can incorporate all of those without having to diverge into the Jesuit traditions and values.
Yes, and touching on what Jason said, what I like about campus ministry is that it's very inclusive. So any student is welcome to come in campus ministry, regardless of your background, which high school you came from, what you study, what religion you are. Anyone is welcome in campus ministry. We try not to make it more like Catholic and faith and strict religion, but we try to do it more on a Jesuit core values basis. So we try to do marches. We have a whole center for marches down in the art hall. So that's, doing more for others and more for yourself, just going above and beyond basically. And so that's what I really love about campus ministry, the inclusivity that they offer.
Yeah. I do want, I don't know if maybe Father Jeremy could talk a little bit about, the whole purpose and I guess mission, if you would want to call it that, of what the Magis Center is. Magis is a Jesuit term, and this academic year, I think last year and more so this academic year, we've incorporated a Magis Center at the high school. I think last year was junior college. You want to talk to us? Just a little bit about what it means.
The word Magis is a Latin word that means the more. The greater, and the motto of the Jesuits in Latin is Ad Majorem Dei Gloriam, which means for the greater glory of God. And Ignatius was always like AMDG, exactly. Ignatius was always like, he could have just said for the glory of God, but he wanted the more. We're not going to rest with good enough. We want to be great. So that's where that word comes from, to push ourselves to really not be mediocre, but to be the best we can be, the most ourselves that God created us to be. So the Magis Center is like a holistic approach to student support services. There's the office for students with disabilities. There's the office, the counseling office. There's student activities and affairs, and then there's campus ministry. And academic support, academic support for students who are, on academically struggling in classes. So we all work together as a team, kind of, again, a holistic sort of approach, because a student might go on an encounter retreat and have a spiritual experience, but a lot of stuff has come up from their past, trauma, PTSD, and so the counselors are there to step in and help. So we approach it from a faith angle, very important, but the counselors can also bring their tools as from psychology to help out. So that's sort of the vision for the Magis Center, yeah. And we're in the second year of it now. I think it's working really well. Still figuring it out in the second year, but it's working very well. So.
All So I want to thank you all for joining today to talk a little bit about what we do here at SJC and what makes us different. Before we close off, Jason, would you like to share anything about your experiences as a student or a campus minister, or what it's been like to bridge over
Right.
from one role to the other?
Right. So going to the high school, I started off my first form year being very close to suspension. Troubled, right? And I heard about this office, and at the time the campus minister was Carly Verde, and so I went to explore and see what this office was. And I was able, and going into this office, I was like, I don't really know much about that. Because I grew up in the church with my grandma, but I kind of strayed a bit off from it when we kind of separated our ways. So I went into this office, and it was the best decision I could have made in my life. I mean, I was able to help other students as a student leader. I was able to plan masses, and the mass was one of the most beautiful things to me. Knowing that I helped the campus minister to set up the altar and to get the hymns out and to get the songs and everything, and just hearing all the students singing, that was like music. It was music to my ears, quite literally. And so I was like, I want more of this. I want more of this because it kind of reminded me of helping when I was younger in my family and helping other people. And then I transitioned to the junior college with Miss Espat, and so I was like, this is something really good. Helping other people is really good. I remember going out for community service, we're donating stuff, we're doing retreats and everything. And I think I shared this either with Leah or the high school campus minister today. I said, when I graduated from sixth form, I'm gonna become a campus minister at the junior college someday. I lost the dream, but then I actually got a call saying, we have a position open, would you like to consider? And I was like, sure, I'll take it.
How long did
And
it
so-
take for that dream to come back?
It took a year. It took
not
a
too
year,
long,
not too long, but it took a year. And I came back and I saw what is the stressful side of it. I mean, the planning and the logistics and everything is always stressful, but at the end, you always see the beauty of why you do it, with the love for the students and with the love for God and with the love for social justice. And so it's something that I for sure want to keep doing with our youth and spreading the love and spreading the word and spreading justice.
All right. Leah?
For me as a student, if you have any prospective students watching this or listening to this that are thinking about coming to SJC, whether it's the junior college or the university or even the high school, I'd say give it a go. Honestly, I got a scholarship when I graduated from the junior college. I got a scholarship to go study abroad. But I decided to stay and go to the university simply because I love the way that they educate us, like everything that they do here at SJC, it's very meaningful. You learn not just academically, but you learn holistically as well. You learn to do more not for yourself, but do more for others. So it's just not education and just academics, but it's just you live for a purpose, or you come here and you receive a purpose in life. Like when I first came here, I just wanted to get my degree and get out. But after a while being involved in campus ministry, I was like, you know what? I want to have a purpose. What is my purpose in life? Going on Encounter helped me to question that and understand what my purpose is. I want to do more, When I get my degree, I want to use it to help my society, my environment, and I want to be there for others. Spread love, spread the word of God. Just be involved, get involved, and do more.
All right. I love it. Love hearing it. And I'm actually so proud to be a part of a community that wants to do more, wants to be engaged and remain active and keep the Jesuit legacy alive in Belize and beyond. And we've come to the end of our first episode of our first segment of
Think Bout It, Talk Bout It.
And thank you for tuning in, and until next time, bye.